Welcome back to my channel. Today we explore the value of specific coins, the most valuable double die penny coins, value in market first up. The 1946 with S double die Lincoln wheat cent is one of those coins that sparks curiosity among collectors because it combines a high mintage year with a scarce variety that adds real value when found. While the San Francisco Mint produced more than 198 million pennies in 1946, only a small number show the doubled die obverse variety, and that scarcity makes them worth hunting. To understand why collectors are willing to pay a premium, it helps to know what a doubled die actually is. During the minting process, a working die receives impressions from a hub. If the die shifts between impressions, the details don't line up perfectly, leaving what looks like a second image. This kind of doubling is permanent on the die itself, so every coin struck with that die carries the same error. Collectors distinguish true doubled dies from ordinary machine doubling or worn edges by looking for strong separation in letters or digits, especially in the date or the word Liberty. In the case of the 1946 S, several doubled die obverse varieties have been catalogued, each with slightly different features. Some show noticeable doubling on the numbers in the date, while others reveal it in the motto or in Liberty. Not every example is dramatic, and that is important for value. A bold doubled die is easier to recognize, more desirable, and commands a much higher price than a subtle one that can only be seen under magnification. Beyond the strength of the doubling, condition matters as well. A coin graded fine falls in the mid-range of circulated grades. The details of Lincoln's hair are worn, and the wheat stalks on the reverse have lost sharpness, but the major outlines remain clear. For many collectors, fine condition is still perfectly collectible, though of course it is far from mint state quality. So what does this mean in today's market? Recent price guides, auction records, and listings suggest that a 1946 S doubled die cent in fine condition generally brings $200,000. That is a broad range, and it reflects the differences in variety, doubling strength, and collector demand. A weakly doubled coin may trade near the lower end, while a strongly doubled and clearly attributed piece may push toward the upper end of the range. Coins that are authenticated and encapsulated by grading services like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX also tend to command higher prices because buyers trust the certification and variety attribution. On the other hand, uncertified coins with unclear photos often sell for much less. As buyers are cautious about mistaking mechanical doubling for a genuine doubled die, collectors should keep in mind that not every coin showing a shadow or doubled look is the valuable variety. Lighting, wear, or strike issues can mimic doubling. The best way to be certain is to compare your coin to reference photographs from specialized variety sites or to seek an opinion from a professional. If you believe you have a strong doubled die, certification is often worthwhile. Even at the fine grade level, the added assurance can make the difference between selling your coin at the low end of the range or achieving a stronger return. The 1946 S doubled die is not in the same league as the famous 1955 or 1969 S varieties that can reach thousands of dollars, but it is still a solid collectible error. For those who enjoy searching through old wheat cents, finding one is a rewarding discovery. And even in fine condition, it represents a small but significant treasure from everyday pocket change. Next up, the 1909 S doubled die Lincoln wheat cent is a coin that sits at the intersection of history and rarity. The year 1909 marked the very first year of the Lincoln cent, replacing the Indian head cent, and that alone makes any coin from this year a collectible. When you add in a doubled die obverse variety and the S mint mark from San Francisco, the coin becomes even more desirable. The San Francisco Mint produced far fewer cents that year compared to Philadelphia, so any 1909 S wheat cent is scarce. The doubled die varieties are recognized by specialists, and when genuine, they carry an added premium. To understand what you might have, remember what a doubled die means. A working die receives more than one impression from the hub, and if those impressions are slightly misaligned, letters and numbers can show doubling. In 1909's, some varieties display noticeable doubling in parts of the lettering or the date. This is not the same as simple machine doubling, which is more like a flat shadow and does not add much value. Collectors want true doubled die examples because they are linked directly to die creation and are far less common. The condition you described, good, with some scratches, is important in figuring out today's market value. Good is one of the lowest collectible grades where major details are worn nearly smooth. On a 1909's cent in this grade, Lincoln's profile is faint, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are heavily worn down. Scratches also detract from the coin's appeal, since serious collectors pay more for coins with smooth, even wear, than for those with distracting marks. While a doubled die variety still gives it an edge, the condition sets a firm limit on what someone would pay. In today's market, a regular 1909's Lincoln wheat cent in good condition is already desirable, with typical prices starting in the low hundreds of dollars. If it is a true doubled die obverse, even in good condition, the variety can raise the interest significantly. For such a coin, values can range roughly from about $100,000 on the very low end for scratched or damaged pieces to several $1,000s if the doubling is strong and clearly visible. Authentication is critical, because many circulated coins with scratches or wear may be mistaken for errors when they are not. If you have a piece you believe is a doubled die, submitting it to a grading service like PCGS, NGC, or ANAX is the safest way to confirm the variety and secure its value. While a good condition example with scratches will never reach the high values of a certified, problem-free, high-grade specimen, it still represents a historic and collectible coin. Being from the very first year of the Lincoln Cent series, with the scarce San Francisco mint mark, and potentially carrying a doubled die obverse, your 1909's is far more than ordinary pocket change. Even with flaws, it has solid value to the right collector who appreciates its history and rarity. Next up, the 1951D doubled die wheat cent is another coin that keeps era collectors excited, even though it isn't as famous or as dramatic as some of the earlier doubled die issues. The Denver Mint produced over 620.5 million Lincoln cents in 1951, so regular coins from this year are common and inexpensive in most circulated grades. The interest comes when you find one struck from a doubled die obverse, where the working die picked up a shifted impression and left signs of doubling in the details. Depending on the particular variety, you may notice extra thickness or separation on the date, Liberty, or the motto. Some 1951D doubled dies are bold enough to catch the eye right away, while others require magnification to confirm. When grading is considered, the term extra fine describes a coin that still shows much of its original detail. On an XF coin, Lincoln's hair and beard are worn but clearly defined, and the wheat stalks on the reverse have strong lines with only light flattening. This is a step above fine, but below about uncirculated. Collectors see extra fine as a nice balance of affordability and detail. That said, scratches do reduce value. Marks across the surface, especially if they are deep or distracting, are considered damage. A lightly scratched coin can still be collected, but it won't bring the same price as a problem-free example in the same grade. As for today's market, 1951D doubled die cents are considered minor varieties. They don't command the huge premiums that key date doubled dies like the 1955 or 1969's do, but they are still worth more than face value. In extra fine condition, a 1951D doubled die might trade in the range of about $10 to $40, depending on which variety it is, how strong the doubling shows, and how serious the scratches are. A coin with bold doubling and minimal marks could reach the upper end of that range, while a weaker variety, or a coin with obvious scratches, would sit closer to the bottom. If the coin were certified by a grading service and given a variety attribution, that could also improve its sale potential, but scratches might lead to a details grade, which buyers often discount. For anyone who thinks they have one of these coins, the best step is to carefully examine the coin under magnification and compare it to known varieties listed on reference sites such as Variety Vista or Doubled Die Guides. Pay special attention to the date and lettering. If the doubling is clear and matches a recognized variety, then even with some scratches, the coin will have collectible value. If the doubling is light, or if it's just machine doubling, then the premium is very small. Still, any true doubled die from this era is fun to discover and makes a solid addition to a Lincoln Cent variety collection. Next up, the 1955 doubled die Lincoln Wheat Cent is one of the most famous and instantly recognizable era coins in U.S. history. Struck at the Philadelphia Mint with no mint mark, this variety became legendary because of its dramatic doubling, especially visible in the date and inscriptions on the obverse. Collectors prize it not only for the error itself, but also for its notoriety. Many non-collectors have even heard of the 1955 double die penny. The doubling is bold, showing clear, distinct repetition in the date and in the words, "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." Unlike some subtle doubled dies, this one requires no magnification to see, and that visual punch is what drives its high demand and enduring reputation. Condition is always key in determining value. A coin in very fine VF20, VF35 grade has moderate wear across Lincoln's portrait and the wheat stalks, but details are still well defined. The hair above Lincoln's ear shows wear, and the wheat kernels on the reverse are partly smooth, but overall the design is sharp enough to remain attractive to collectors. In your case, you mentioned some scratches. Surface damage like scratches can lower the value, even if the technical grade is very fine. Collectors pay a premium for coins that are problem-free, so any distractions like gouges or heavy marks will be factored into the final market price. So what is this coin worth today? The 1955 doubled die without mint mark in very fine condition generally sells in the range of $1,000 to $2,500 USD. Coins at the lower end of this range often have additional issues, such as scratches or cleaning, while problem-free examples closer to VF30, VF35 can climb higher. Certified examples by PCGS or NGC usually realize stronger prices because authenticity is guaranteed, and the market for such famous varieties is very active. Exceptional specimens in higher grades, like extremely fine or uncirculated, can soar far above this range, sometimes reaching tens of thousands of dollars at auction. Even circulated, the coin remains one of the most desirable Lincoln Cent errors. It's worth remembering that this coin has been heavily counterfeited over the years. Many altered or fake pieces circulate online, so collectors are cautious. That is why grading and authentication are especially important for this variety. If you believe you have an authentic 1955 doubled die penny, it's strongly recommended to send it to a trusted grading service for certification. Even with scratches, the coin's fame ensures it holds considerable value, and having it authenticated protects both you and future buyers. The 1955 doubled die is not just a coin. It's a piece of numismatic history, representing one of the most dramatic minting errors ever released into circulation. In very fine condition with some scratches, it still carries impressive market value, making it one of the most rewarding discoveries a coin hunter could ever make. Next up, the 1922 No D doubled die wheat cent is one of the most famous coins in the Lincoln series, and even in circulated grades, it draws strong attention from collectors. In 1922, Lincoln cents were only produced at the Denver Mint, but on some dies the D mint mark was either extremely weak or failed to strike through at all. The result is the famous 1922 no-D variety. Within this group, there are different die states and sub-varieties, but the ones most widely collected are the strong reverse with no visible mint mark and, in some cases, additional doubling on the obverse details. What makes this coin particularly appealing is the combination of rarity and the mystery of how it happened. Normally, every 1922 cent should carry a D mint mark. When collectors see one without it, and the reverse shows strong details, it is a true variety rather than a filled die or worn mint mark. Because the error was struck in relatively small numbers compared to the total Denver output, surviving examples have remained scarce for more than a century, and values have stayed consistently high. Condition plays a major role. You mentioned your coin is in extremely fine XF condition with some scratches. XF typically means most of the major details on Lincoln's hair and beard are still visible, though with light wear on the highest points, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are clear. Coins in XF are attractive to collectors who want an example without paying the high premium for an uncirculated piece. However, scratches and other damage can lower the value because collectors always prefer coins with smooth, problem-free surfaces. In today's market, a genuine 1922 no-D wheat cent in extremely fine condition often trades in the $4,000 to $7,000 USD range, depending on eye appeal and the specific die variety. If the scratches are light and not distracting, the coin may stay within that range. If the scratches are heavy, the value can drop significantly, sometimes cutting it in half, because problem coins are harder to sell at full guide prices. On the other hand, if the coin is authenticated and certified by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC, collectors are more willing to pay near the higher end of the scale. It's also worth noting that auction records for high-end examples in XF condition have sometimes exceeded $10,000, especially when the coin has excellent eye appeal and minimal marks. Lower-end XF coins with visible problems tend to settle closer to the $4,000 range. Even with scratches, the rarity of the 1922 no-D doubled die means it will always carry strong collector demand. If you own one, the smartest step is to have it professionally authenticated and graded. Because of the value involved and the existence of counterfeits or altered coins, a certified holder from PCGS, NGC, or ANAX protects both you and any potential buyer. With that verification in place, your coin can be confidently marketed at its true value.